This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast about the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morris, and this week we're talking track and field and rowing, as both programs are racing to the finish of the spring sports season and rewriting some record books along the way. That's this week on the Bates Bobcast. The track and field teams compete at the New England Division III Outdoor Championships last weekend and turned in a number of impressive performances. The men's team placed 6 out of 36 schools, led by sophomore Seneca Moore, our male Bobcat of the week. He broke the program record in the 110-meter hurdles, winning the New England title in 14.54 seconds. Head coach Curtis Johnson joins the Bobcats this week to talk about Moore's accomplishment and to give us a look at where the track and field teams stand heading into this weekend's Farley Interregional Extravaganza at Williams. Well, Curtis, a record-breaking New England championships for the men's track and field team as sophomore Seneca Moore broke the program record in the 110-meter hurdles, which had stood for 11 years. So, I know he was looking for that breakthrough performance, and it finally came in the final. Good time to do it, right?
Absolutely. This time of year, we're not only trying to be in peak shape, but the weather's finally starting to cooperate. And Seneca has that indoor 60-meter hurdle record, so we felt it was about time that on a good day where he could be at his best, it could happen. It ended up being the perfect amount of competition. The conditions were, pretty good, and he capitalized. It was one of his smoothest races, too, so we think that there's more in the tank, and definitely proud of him for getting that school record. It's a great one. Jarrett McCalligan is an impressive athlete, so that's a big record to take down.
I know Seneca was going up against some guys who he had faced a lot, right? What's that battle like every week in the NESCAC and then also just in New England?
Yeah, NESCAC, New England, but also Maine State. There's some of the best hurdlers are right here. So I think that prepares us and has prepared Seneca to know, I've seen these faces before, and if I can focus on what changes and what tweaks I can make to be better each week, then I'll go far. And sure enough, that final featured 2 boating guys, a kid from Wheaton that he's seen a couple times, a Bridgewater State guy, Eastern Connecticut kid that he's raced a few times between indoor and outdoor. So I think that was exciting. Also took the pressure, I've done this before. And he obviously beat them all. So that was cool to be on the winning side of some cool rivalries.
Ranking currently right now 32nd in the country in the event. Top 22 make nationals, but the margins are so razor thin, right? Maybe not as razor thin as 60 meters, but 110 meters still not that long of a distance.
Yeah, it is a quick race, and when you're already fast, getting faster, it's a challenge. But with 10 barriers in your way, there is, the area for growth, a lot more than the 60-meter dash or hurdles. I'm feeling as, his coach and encouraged by the room for error and what we've been talking about. We've seen things look good from hurdle 1 to 5 that finally look good from hurdle 1 to 7, and now we're looking to really close the gap from 1 to 10 plus the finish. So there's room there to shave off 2 tenths, and actually the shorter the race, the more pressure it is to shave tenths off, even if you do have the ability to. I think these next 2 weeks it's worth a shot and going for that NCAA qualifier.
Absolutely. And then the men's team overall got 6th place, same as last year there at New England. So plenty of points from a lot of different athletes. What kind of stood out to you kind of in general?
Yeah, I think the youth of our team in the jumping events and also just seeing people step up. One thing that stood out to me, obviously, is just the youth. Ryan Glazer, he has added another 2 meters to his hammer throw and was able to be one of the top finishers in a really great field and, capitalizing on a meet that, we really want to do well in short term. Another Ryan Harding, he had a huge PR by about almost half a second, and he ran his race from start to finish in the lead in lane 8, which is that outside lane. So he ran blind. He started the race and finished the race not seeing a single person. And usually in a race like a 400, having competition, it goes a long way. But, again, obviously Seneca and the hurdles and our relays on the women's side where they ran a season best. Madison Alves, she ran 3 tenths PR to be number 3 all-time in the 100 on the women's side. And the women's triple jump is a big highlight. Oh, my God. So, we've have the number 2, the number 4, and the tied number 5 all time. So that triple jump list, it's lit up like a Christmas tree because it's illuminating how successful this group has been in the second half of the season.
Yeah, we have Graca Bila on the show this week. Obviously, she had a college PR there to get to 5th all-time, the triple jump. Jumpers in general, you mentioned the men's side has some solid jumpers as well, right? I mean, this is a recruiting focus, getting a lot of these jumpers in here because they're all young and they're all rewriting the top 10 list.
Yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. Last year, the last 2 years have been great for our team and in terms of stats and pushing the bar. But at the end of the year, we really enjoy sitting down and saying, where do we need to recruit? Where do we need to develop? And there was a conversation we've had like, imagine when we build in this area. And it's really, I take a lot of pride in being able to sit here and say, see, a year later, we're talking about the jumps more. And a great testament to Coach Art on the recruiting side and the coaching side, because we talked about this being an area that we can really fill the gap. And these young athletes and students have really stepped up. So Nick Nicolazzo and Frall Neguse on the men's side, 2 freshmen at this New England Championships who not only perform well but had their best marks at the championships, and that says a lot about their ability to step up in the championship setting.
Tell us about this interregional meet we have coming up at Williams, because I feel like it's a newer meet, at least for Bates.
Yeah, very new meet. The Farley Interregional Extravaganza, quite the name there. But Coach Farley was he was a legend there, and before his retirement. So I really like the theme of the meet, set up to promote high quality performances, and it is new for us to have an open meet past qualifying championships, which is kind of like a last chance effort, but it sets it up where we can have 2 in a row in an already very short spring season. This helps us because, as you know, there's only a few weeks where we get ideal weather, and we're finally getting that weather, so it's nice to have another chance to push the bar. Indoor, as long as you can make it to the facility, performances are indoor, no real changes. But outdoor, there's a lot of outside factors. So we like this time of year to still provide a good portion of our team with those opportunities. It's an interregional meet, and what that means is we're going to see New York teams there, not just New England and NESCAC, but some of the best in New York and surrounding teams, which already looks like it's going to be a good showdown.
Sounds good. Curtis Johnson, head coach of the men's and women's track and field teams. Thanks so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
As touched on during Coach Johnson's interview, the women's track and field team has really stood out in the triple jump this year. But first-year Graca Bila has done more than just jump. She's also a key part of both the Bates 4x100 and 4x400 relays. Bila set a collegiate PR in the triple jump last weekend and helped Bates score points in the aforementioned relays. And Graca Bila is our female Bobcat of the week. Well, Graca, first of all, you're from Maine, from Westbrook, so tell me a little bit about your time competing in Maine high school track and field. When did you first start getting into the sport?
I've done track since I was younger, like first grade or anything, so it's always been like a thing I enjoy doing, and I did it all throughout high school. I did it all throughout middle school, and it's just a really fun sport for me, and I love it here.
Have you ever played any other sports, or is that your sport?
Throughout high school, I played soccer and basketball, and I played basketball throughout middle school as well.
Oh, nice. Okay, so when you're looking at schools, what made Bates the place for you?
It was just amazing, like visiting the campus. I love like the community. It feels like a very inclusive community, and it just seemed like very fun. And I met some of the track athletes. Like I shadowed a track athlete here, and I just loved it here and the team.
We got some good triple jumpers on this team, it seems like. Last week there at New England, everyone had a season best, a college best there in the outdoor triple jump. You, Alana Audrey, and then, of course, we've also had Campbell Johnson on the show. Tell us about this group.
It's a really good group. We love each other. We love supporting each other. We always have fun doing it, and it's just a good group that pushes each other constantly. Like, we love each other, but we also love competing against each other because it's like someone pushing the other person, and I think it's a good atmosphere to be in.
What's really cool is that all three of you are now on the top 5, not just top 10, top 5 all-time performance list at Bates in the outdoor triple jump. What does that mean to have 1 sophomore and 2 first years, right?
It's really impressive. It really shows our progress and what this team is about. I really love it.
And you were in 2 relays at New England, scored points in both of them for the Bobcats in those relays, the 4x100 and the 4x400. Tell me about, when you're going into a meet like this, you're preparing for 3 different events. How do you go about doing that?
It's just focus and always having like a good support system, having your teammates also in that events really help. you know that like you're not alone. You always have your coaches to support you, and that's like a big part of track, just like having all that support to push you and like motivate you in doing these events. And I think our team does a really good job of that.
I have to put you on the spot. Of these 3 events you just competed in, triple jump, 4x4, 4x1, what's your favorite and why?
I'll say the 4x1 maybe.
Maybe.
I love them all, I swear.
You love them all.
But maybe the 4x1 because like how fast the event is, but it also does take like a lot of focus, and it's just a really fun event, like a continuous. And I just love relays as well. Yeah,
relays obviously, team event when a lot of track and field can be individual at times. So, I mean, you were the only one in both of those relays. So what's that like, going back and forth between 2 different groups kind of?
It's good. Like, it's also fun because our team's together a lot, but also the 4x4 is like at the very end. So, so like it's at different times of the meets, but it's also good because it's like with the 4x4, it's like the last event, so it takes like a lot more from us, like having to prepare. But we did a good job. With like our event, like just like hyping each other up, like as coach tells us to like turn off and turn up in the 4x4 because it's like don't think too much about it. But we had a really good hype up before that.
Now, you didn't do any this weekend, but you've done some hurdles also. 400 hurdles, it looks like, for outdoor. You did some 60 hurdles indoor season. What's it like competing in those hurdles events? Is that something you were familiar with coming out of high school also?
Yeah, I did hurdles in high school. It's really fun. I love just having barriers in the middle of races. It makes it more fun, and it's a nice checkpoint. I truly love hurdles, yeah.
So in terms of, you're being a first year, what's been maybe some adjustments from, high school track and field to college track and field? What's been some similarities, differences perhaps?
My biggest adjustment was probably having actual other people in my event. Like in high school, I at least for hurdles, sometimes I'd be like the only one.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like from my team, the only one competing in it. And it's kind of difficult, but having that as support, and the workouts are obviously harder, but that was a given.
From an academic perspective, how's that adjustment gone for you?
It's gone pretty well. Like the workload is kind of the same because my school was also like a college prep school.
Oh, okay.
And it's been okay.
Great. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to mention, on New England's this past weekend? Anything else you wanted to mention we haven't got to talk about?
I really liked that we finally had warm weather because we haven't had that all season, and it was really nice for us, for our team's performance.
Great. Are you competing at Williams this weekend?
Yes.
What are you going to compete in?
I'm doing triple jump and 400 hurdles.
Oh, so back to the 400 hurdles.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Well, Graca, thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Congrats again on, a really strong weekend there at New England's.
Thank you so much.
Bad weather continues to be an issue for the Bates rowing teams, but they made the most of their chances Saturday at the New England Rowing Championship. The top 2 8s for both the women's and men's teams won their heats, and the men's first varsity 8 earned a bronze medal with their third-place showing in the grand final. Junior Luke Desmaison rose in the stroke seat for the men's 1V, and he joins the Bobcast to chat all things Bates men's rowing. You're from New York City. Tell me a little bit about growing up. What first got you into the sport of rowing?
Yeah, so I actually didn't start rowing in the city. I went to a boarding school in Mass, Brooks School, and picked it up there. My advisor was the head of the program, and he sort of roped me into it, sort of like a stringy, tall guy, and was like, "Hey, you'd be okay at this."
So you started in high school?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I played like basketball and soccer and stuff like that, and then I ran cross country when I was at Brooks as well.
So you learned to row there at Brooks. What made you really enjoy the sport right off the bat, or maybe it took a while? I don't know.
No, I did love it right off the bat. It was sort of the camaraderie. I was around a bunch of older upperclassmen at school, and they sort of took me under their wing and were showing me the ropes and sort of just showed me how much fun it can be. The people that you can meet through the sport, and it was just a great time, and there was so much mentorship, and I loved that, and tried to foster that as I got older.
So when time to look for colleges, I mean, you were already in Massachusetts, but what made Bates the place for you as you were looking at your schools?
I sort of loved the rural setting. I came on an official, and getting to see the Androscoggin in the fall was amazing. It was a little bit cold, but I sort of got over that quickly, and just like really great community, which I picked up immediately as I got there, just seeing the team function and also amazing coaches.
Well, as a first year, I mean, you're a junior now, but as a first year, you were in the first varsity 8. So what was it like jumping right into the top boat?
Oh, yeah, it was great. Sort of same deal as at Brooks. I was like taken under the wing of a bunch of great upperclassmen who were all really committed. And I think I just, tried to absorb as much of that as possible. It was a great experience. We had a really successful season after, I think, a rocky start. And it was great to grow as a group.
Yeah, because you guys got the bronze medal in the D3 race that year at IRA.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Pretty cool feat. This year, speaking of bronze medals, you got one there at New England's. Boy, what a year we've had weather-wise. But first of all, before we talk about big picture, just take me through New England's and how it went from the 1V's perspective.
Yeah, the morning was super. We were really satisfied with our race. Sort of going into it, we couldn't really tell where we stack up against other schools. I mean, we don't race Williams during the regular season, so it was great to get sort of a duel with them. And the morning took it down the track and sort of showed everybody what we might be capable of doing. And then come the afternoon, it was sort of get to see Trinity with a little bit fairer conditions, although that wasn't exactly perfect. But yeah, it's awesome to race 6 lanes across. And it's just a great atmosphere, and there's really nothing like it.
And Peter was saying how you guys really were able to come from behind and take down a few crews like MIT and Tufts. What was that like to walk through them there?
Yeah, I think that was really just a demonstration of how gritty we can be coming off the line. We tend to be a little bit slower than other crews, and we're okay with that because we know that we've got a killer second half.
So you're in the stroke seat. What's that role like?
I mean, I love being up in the stern because I feel like I can sort of talk with Darian in the cox seat and see what he's feeling, and we can talk about what we think the best thing to do technically might be, and then also if he thinks that there's an opportunity to make a move in a race and he's not totally sure, he can sort of lean on me to see what the boat, like how the boat is responding. But also, from a purely physical standpoint, I'm setting the rhythm, and that's always a lot of fun. I haven't rode the stroke seat at Bates much, but coach has put his trust in me, and I've really been enjoying that.
So this year has been a weird one. You mentioned you didn't really know where you stood because most of your races have been barely been able to have the race because of the weather and everything. I know a couple times the 1V took on water, which is never a good thing. I mean, how have you guys been able to fight through this?
Yeah, I think going into races, the idea is to put together what you've been practicing against other crews. And when you can't do that in the race, you sort of have to lean on the practices even harder. And I think this year more than maybe most, we've been really attacking it during the training sessions, and it's paying off. I still don't think that we've had the race or the output that we think we can have, but I think this weekend is probably the time for that.
Yeah, this is the time for that, right? This Sunday in IRCs, it's the IRA qualifier, it's an SCAC championship, it's the biggest regatta until the next biggest regatta. But tell me a little bit about NIRCs, your experiences there. It's the same place as New England, same competition almost too, right?
Yeah, it's really a continuation. I think we think of NERCs a little bit as a dress rehearsal for NIRCs, which is good. It helps us to mentally center ourselves. But NIRCs is always really exciting, and at least in the varsity, we haven't had necessarily the most. We've managed to qualify for IRAs, in the time that I've been here, which has been awesome. But I don't think we've had similarly a really good output at that regatta, and while that's disappointing, I think it's sort of continued fueling this fire that's leading up to, this year, but also years to come. My freshman year, we didn't make the grand at NIRC, which was really frustrating. And last year, we got last in the grand final. But I think with a lot of returning guys, we've sort of been able, I think we're in a position this year where we know what we can do. We're excited to do that.
Great. Well, just anything else you want to mention about the season, perhaps?
I think from top to bottom, it's been really, really successful. And I think this is, in my time, it's the deepest program we've had. And it's awesome to see how competitive it's been. Like I said, it's cold up here, and being in Maine, we don't get to get on the water very early compared to our competition. And I've been spoiled. Coach says this a lot. We've been spoiled the last 2 years. We've gotten on really early, and even relatively early this year. But I think we've really dialed in a lot of camaraderie, but also fun in the erg room coming into the season, and that's translated really, really well onto the water. And I hope going into the end of this season and the next years that we can sort of foster that feeling and continue building the program from the bottom up.
Great bronze medal for the first varsity 8 at New England Rowing Championship this past Saturday. They are back in action this Sunday, same location, Lake Quinsigamon in Worcester, Massachusetts, at the National Invitational Rowing Championship, which is the IRA qualifier, also doubles as the NESCAC Championship. Luke Desmaison, the stroke seat of the first varsity 8. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Only the first varsity 8s got to compete in grand finals on Saturday as high winds forced the cancellation of the other races. And the Bates women's first varsity 8 ran into some trouble before their grand final even began. Head coach Peter Steenstra tells us what happened and gives us insight into what the rowing teams are focused on heading into their return to Lake Quinsigamon this Sunday for the National Invitational Rowing Championship. A very windy New England Collegiate Rowing Championship. I understand this is one of the windiest springs in recorded memory, right?
As far as we know, yeah. But that someone in the rowing world has done a little bit of research and discovered that this is the windiest spring that we've had in 50 years. So that kind of tracks with everything that we've been dealing with. And on top of it, we've had a rainy Saturday every single weekend for the previous 6 Saturdays. So it's been one of those sort of trying spring seasons that has brought a lot of challenges in addition to just trying to be prepared and getting everyone ready. So I can tell you that maybe I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but the guys in particular haven't really felt like they had that shining moment with a really good race where everything seemed fair and they were able to really put down and find their true speed on a course. The women, I think, had an opportunity to do that at New York State's because even though it was a bit of a breeze in the morning, when they did their finals in the afternoon, it was beautiful, flat, calm, and all 4 boats came away with really good results and really good show of their speed. But yeah, on the men's side, it seems to have been difficult to just get a day where they felt fast on top of a good result. They just wanted to feel fast, and that's hard to do in these conditions.
And then, I mean, they got third. The first varsity 8 got third in the grand final. Did they feel like it was one of their better races of the year? I mean, even though it was tough conditions?
I would say that they, particularly the last 500 meters, they felt like they took control of that race. I mean, they were 5th place or 6th at the 1,000-meter mark. Again, rough conditions, but they had a good lane in comparison to some of the others. And that last 500, they blew through Williams and MIT and Tufts. And it was really going through Tufts with 200 meters to go was pretty exciting for them. And I think that's the moment that we have so far of them knowing that the speed is there. And then having another opportunity come in this Sunday is what they're excited about.
The heats went really well for everybody, it seemed like. I mean, what would you see from your crews in the heats, particularly, I guess, on the women's side, because we'll talk a little bit about what happened in the grand final, but in the heat, it looked like, first varsity 8, second varsity 8, victories.
Yeah, they came off the water with a lot of big smiles. Yeah. There were boats launching, and I stopped the 1V, and actually on the women's side. I kind of stopped them on the dock. We had a lucky moment where we were the only ones on the dock launching. And I could just sense the tension within the group. And so I just stopped them and said, come together. And we talked for 30 seconds, and all I said was, relax. Like, this is going to be fine. You know that the speed is there, and you're anxious because you're building this heat up into something more than it really is. I don't know if that helped at all, but maybe just by acknowledging it helped to thaw out some of that anxiety that was going on. But they ended up having a great piece, even though they were every boat that raced was behind for the first 500 and then rode through everybody in the middle 1,000, and it got to the point that the commentator on the Jumbotron said, well, okay, here's the Bates thing happening again, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, everyone did really well in the morning heats.
All right, so the grand final for the first varsity 8 for the women. Yeah. When the results popped up on the live results, and I saw that they got last, I was like, well, something had to have happened. And these times are really slow. What's going on out there? Equipment issue. Tell us what happened, and the wind played a factor, right?
Yes. I was not down at the start, so what I have is from Hannah Herbst. Yeah. She kind of filled me in that as they were trying to get into their starting platform, I guess MIT was beside them in the next lane, and a lot of boats were getting pushed around quite a bit. The gusts are bad enough out on the course, but underneath that bridge, the gusts turn into little tornadoes, and all of a sudden it'll push from the side that is not the prevailing wind. So it's very confused water down there with the waves coming in that are being blown up from throughout the rest of the course, and then to have this swirling, gusting 40 mile an hour every now and then, all of a sudden the bow goes off to a bizarre side, and you're not quite prepared to adjust. But anyway, I guess MIT's crew got a little bit sideways, ended up pinning us, pushing us sideways. So we got pinned up against the starting platform, got separated. But when we were separated, I think there was a piece of rope or something that was attached to the platform, got underneath our boat, which interfered with the skeg and the rudder. There's no way for Herbst to know what happened until she was underway. So she got up and running into the race, and she was going, and she had already been issued a false start prior to that. So she knew that she could not stop. She had to go.
Right.
Unless there was actual breakage. But to stop and not know if something was truly broken would have been a risky thing to do. So she did kind of a veteran thing for her first year, to be cool-headed enough to realize we got to just keep going here. So she did, and you get a couple of 100 meters in, you realize she didn't have any steerage. So she, waddled her way down the course. And, the times were bad for everybody, but to be, a minute and a half or whatever they were behind the rest, everyone out there racing knows that there was something wrong. So it was all right.
When you can't steer, that impacts the speed because the wind is just blowing you back and forth, or what?
It's pushing you around, but even in addition to that, you have a missed stroke might happen on one side of the boat with the waves. And if you have 4 oars on one side pushing and 3 on the other, then the boat's going to go in that direction. So it was hard for her to ever correct anything if there was a missed stroke of any sort. I mean, it really was a perfect storm of just crazy things. And so they did their best with it. And the fact that she even stayed in her lane is probably a testament to her abilities as a coxswain.
So how's the boat doing?
Yeah, I did reset the skeg, so I took everything out. I took it apart and reset it, and we rode it this morning, and it seemed to be a lot better. But we might do some more fine-tuning before racing.
All right, so luckily this was New England's, which is an important regatta, but it's not the be-all, end-all.
Right.
This Sunday, it's the most important regatta because the NESCAC Championship's on the line, which is an automatic bid, and you still want to do really well, regardless of whether you win the NESCAC or not, because there's that large bids up for grabs as well, right?
Yes, exactly. So, finishing top 4 is a must, and top 3 preferred within the NESCAC. You can feel secure in getting a bid if you're in the top 3. And obviously the winner gets the AQ. But what's different this year is that it's actually point-based. So it's a combination of the 1V and 2V.
For the NESCAC or
for the NESCAC Championship.
So it's no longer just the 1V result.
It's no longer just the Varsity 8.
It's points-based.
Exactly. So it's meant to mirror what's happening with NCAA's.
Sure. Yeah.
And the NUMAC already does it this way.
Okay.
So it's a combination of the two.
Okay.
So the second 8 has to do their job as well. I mean, they had to anyway, but this is the points are very important in this process.
Interesting. Is the 1V race been worth more points, though? Or?
Yeah, it's just like the NCAA.
Sure.
I think the points system is – I don't actually have it memorized just yet. But I think it's very similar, and you're right. The V8 is going to be worth more than the 2V.
Yeah. But this is exciting for the 2V because now they get to try to contribute to a NESCAC title, right?
Yes, exactly right. Yep, they contribute to it, and this also allows for the NESCAC to now have a second place or a runner-up within the NESCAC. So that we've never had even that before.
Okay.
Because we'd never had points, so it was just the Varsity 8, and so we've only had the winner. Now there's like a second place.
You know, the 2V did not get a grand final; it was canceled. Right. So what's their mentality right now? They won their heat also.
They did in dramatic fashion, of course. But yeah, you compare the times, and you can see that they're in that mix for the sort of top 3 or 4 boats. And we did a couple things just this morning to try to secure the lineup and make sure everyone was in the right spot. And I think that they're even a little bit better for it now. Do some more fine tuning over the next couple days and see how they land.
And for the men's team, obviously, the NESCAC title is also up for grabs. Will it be point-based there, too?
Nope. The men's side is just the 1V.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're gonna keep these two things, I guess, a little bit separate for a little bit longer. But yeah, there is for the time being.
Yep.
That's the way it is.
And then for IRA consideration, is that as a whole group? Are they only looking at the 1V? How does that kind of go?
It is only the 1V.
Okay.
But on the men's side, you have the top 2 NESCAC finishers get AQs to the IRA.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's pretty significant. We've already got the Liberty League has, I think it's Ithaca is in, and then there's the Mid-Atlantic or whatever that other conference is down there. Marietta got that one, so we already have a couple crews that are in.
Gotcha. But there are at-large possibilities there too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But since this regatta, the NIRC is now almost there's 18 varsity 8s, and they're all either New England or New York. So you combine those two groups, and you've got the next 4 crews that you need to fill out the field.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, what's some focus this week in practice? I guess you're about to head to the boathouse right now.
I'm heading to the boathouse to do a small repair and do a little bit of work on the boats and just kind of stop being nervous in the office, I suppose, thinking about other things. And I got, obviously Coach Mike and Coach Katie are doing all their things in preparation for trips, and hopefully there's a postseason that we can plan for as well.
Sounds good. NIRCs are this Sunday back on Lakewood Sigmund. Hopefully, how's the weather looking? Wind will be okay?
Oh, it's going to be sunny. It's going to be beautiful.
Right.
We're going to have gentle breezes, and everyone's going to get a nice cocoa butter tan. It's going to be great. I'm at the moment, it looks okay. I'm just not going to look too closely because if I think too much about that, who knows what sort of tempest will arrive.
All right, Coach. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks.
The softball team finished their regular season with an overall record of 16-18 and a 7-11 mark in conference play. That was enough to earn the 6th seed in the upcoming NESCAC tournament as the Bobcats take on Wesleyan in the quarterfinal this Saturday at noon on the campus of Tufts University. Stick with GoBatesBobcats.com for all the latest Bates athletics news, and we'll catch you next time on the Bates Bobcast.